it is easy, but it's a lot of hard work, and I wanted, at the end of the day, I just wanted people to know what this world was and why did I do it, why did I put stuff up on my channel, and why I was, consistent with it for a while. And I knew so many people that were just, running laps around me as far as, they were doing daily videos and they were doing daily vlogs and stuff and talking about their life. And, it's just such a lot of work that I wanted to kind of give people who do this as a full-time thing, or even not as a full-time thing. I want to give them and show people the credit that they deserve, that this is a hard thing to do. This is a job for a lot of people. And
right.
Even if it might not be like a full-time thing for people, people should, have some kind of respect for it rather than just see people and say, oh, they're just probably uploading cat videos or something. So, yeah.
There's a lot of cat people in the world that watch those cat videos.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the things that I really found consistent with all of the subjects on your video, or the documentary rather, was that, they all said that if there was no money to be made in it, that they loved doing it so much that they would do it. But they all stressed how much work. I mean, and you actually documented that. You saw the behind-the-scenes individual, live shows, if you will, of all of the work that goes into this. And so it is a lot of work. And I can tell you just from Pam and I doing our shows, it is a lot of work. I mean, we just, the fun part is when you get on air and you get to talk to the guests and you get to do your show. But when you're off air, every minute you're away, it seems, you're doing something for your show. And honestly, that's what it takes to be a success. And there's no surprise why any of those guys are successful that you showcase on this documentary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure, with what you guys do, it's in a completely different world, and it's something that actually I don't know too much about, but I can, obviously just coming off of a YouTube documentary, I can imagine that what you guys do is a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it's a lot of time and waiting for yes or no's, and you have to contact a lot of people, find those contacts in the first place. Whereas, I think if Dawn and I did the YouTube, it would still be work, but we wouldn't have to make all those contacts. We'd just get on there and talk.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be. So tell what kind of show that would be.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey, I mean, when you have someone that did a show and it was, about getting drunk and cooking. I mean, anything's possible, So, and who knew? And I was telling Pam, the thing that amazed me about that show in particular was how, it all was born out of the idea of a friend saying, you haven't done this in a while. How about doing this for me? And then from there it went, And so the thing with YouTube is the opportunities are endless. I mean, the sky's the limit because there's so much out there that you can find on YouTube. I mean, they can tutorials, entertainment, music. I mean, it's got everything. It's a one-stop shop, for anyone that wants, to look up anything. And so the great facet about YouTube is the entertainment factor. There's a lot of entertainment because you're not boxed into guidelines that networks put in place, that you can be as creative as you want to be. And that's the magic of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, there's a niche for almost anything. It's just a matter of digging and finding it, just mashing, if you want to just mash up some keywords and search it in, I'm sure someone's doing a show or someone did a clip about something, I mean, yeah, so I agree. That's kind of the magic about YouTube and what you can find and what you can discover.
Well,
how did you choose the people that are in your documentary?
Well, a lot of them are actually close friends of mine. After doing YouTube for a while, it's kind of like a community where you meet people. You go to certain functions or you do collaborations, or there's Playlist Live in Orlando, Florida, and there's VidCon in Los Angeles, and you meet these people, and then after a while, you kind of, you're like, oh, I recognize you. I know you.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you too. And it's kind of like a weird meeting spot where you kind of can meet people that do this with you, and you kind of, it's hard sometimes, when I put out videos, I have little to connect with some of my friends that don't understand it. They just watch it and say, oh, cool, and that's it. But
oh, wow.
when you're with another YouTuber who gets it, You almost like kind of befriend them. It's like it's this weird hobby / job that you have that, you know, you kind of can just relate to them and say, oh man, did you see what YouTube did with the layout, or you see this comment I got, or oh this and that, oh you got a lot of views, I love, you know, so it's like this common factor that you can kind of come together and talk about, which is really cool.
Well, that is something. It is incredible.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I didn't even answer your question. How a lot of these people are friends of mine that I've met through these functions and stuff, and you know, and some of them, like, you know, Joe Penna, who's Mr. Guitar Man. Now I'm friends with him, but before that, I was just a fan of him. I just said, oh man, your stuff is great, you know, and I through a mutual friend was able to get a hold of him, and I told him about it, and he said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So all these guys, for the most part, I am friends with. I either was friends with before or am friends with them after. So yeah, I've known Mitchell Davis for quite some time. Craig, who's Wheezy Waiter, I've known him for a while, and Kevin from District Lines, who's in the film as well, I've known him for I think 10 years now. So you know, getting Kevin involved was just a snap. You know, he's one of my best friends, so I just said, hey, you want to be in this movie? And he's like, sure, I'll be in your movie. So yeah.
And it helps that, you know, they're not only friends of yours, but they're in the same, you know, they're in the same realm, so they understand you and you understand them, and it just works. But they were great subjects to highlight, and so, you know, in that regard, you know, every single one of these people in the documentary, they all said, you know, this is my job, and you know, I never thought that this could be a job. I mean, this sounds funny to even say it's a job, and so, you know, for anyone that might be out there listening and have either uploaded videos to YouTube, and they've always wondered, well, how do people get shows, and how do they, I mean, if you were, you know, if someone were to ask you, and you probably have been asked, but what would you know, what would be your advice if someone wanted to go on YouTube and start a channel and do this sort of thing? What would they need to do first?
You know what? I don't want to say it's easier than what I'm about to say, but just start doing it. Just figure it out as you go. There's no handbook. I mean, yes, there is a handbook for it, and YouTube does have a YouTuber handbook for this. But just start doing it. Put up a video. What do you want? Do you want to put up a sketch? Is it you talking about something? Is it you ranting about a specific subject, or like political issues or something? Whatever you think, whatever your the number one thing is be passionate about it, whatever you want to do, because if it catches on, you might have to do it for the next like 3 to 4 to 5 years, maybe the rest of your life. So be passionate about what you want to do, you know, about what you want to talk about or what you want to put out. And you know what? Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because it's going to happen. You're going to figure out what works, what people want to see, what people don't want to see. And I guarantee you, you know, unless you're a Hannah Hart, the first video you put out, you're going to probably change the premise around. You're probably going to want to, you know, and there are some, I don't want to say lucky people, but there are some people out there that put out their first video and boom, that's it. You know, My Drunk Kitchen, here we go. And I love Hannah's show. I watch them whenever they're out, and I think that that's awesome that she was able to find it that quickly. And it caught on like that. But, you know, I would, you know, like I said before, start it, do it, don't be afraid. It's really weird to put the camera on yourself and talk to, you know, what could be one person, what could be 1 million people when you upload a video. But just, you know, I would say just have fun with it, be passionate about it, upload it, be prepared to tweak your show, be prepared to make changes, and just have fun.
And I noticed, too, that all the people you interviewed did this for different various reasons. One of the guys that you interviewed, and I'm not sure if I should say his name, but I guess he's in the documentary. It wouldn't matter. But Mitchell, he went on there, he said just either spill his heart or goof off or whatever, and he had over 121 million views, and he didn't even know how he got so much interest, how he gained so much interest. And he also likes to answer questions that are in the comment section, but does it jokingly. And I think that's a good way to take it, because sometimes the comments can be cruel. And you have to, you know, just let that go by and not take it personally. But it also helped him because he had OCD real severely, and it affected his life, and he felt isolated. So he turned to the Internet to talk, and it grew from there. And then all of a sudden he had this community family, which helped him to get the help that he needed through therapy and medication. And so it totally changed his life. And I think that's one of the most interesting stories in that documentary that I read. or I watched.
Yeah, well, no, I think, I think for a lot of people this is just like an outlet, just like how Mitchell used it. I think a lot of people just, they feel the need to kind of express themselves, but in talking to a camera and talking to people and opening up a conversation is kind of a solution for that. And I think that's great. I think it's a really cool way. It's almost the same thing that we're doing. We're having a conversation. We're probably going to have calls in later. It's like we're opening this up to people and just we're having a conversation. And that's essentially what blogging or just being a YouTuber is. You're putting this out there. And for Mitchell's case, I think it was really cool. I don't want to really go too deep into his part. I want people to see it themselves, but but yeah, no, I think that reaching out and talking to an audience and finding an audience that kind of like helps you if you're, I don't want to say lonely, but if you're if you want to kind of just go out there and have a conversation with a bunch of people, like one, it could be one person, it could be a million people, like I said before. So yeah.
Well, the beauty of YouTube, just in watching your documentary, it's made me realize, every single person that you had on the documentary, they all had a completely different show from each other. I mean, and it was just all a matter of them taking an idea and just running with it. Like you said, they just did it, and then it went from there. And probably for me, as good as all the stories were, the one that I found to be probably the most true and real in terms of his admittance was Dan Brown. He put up a video of how to work a Rubik's Cube. Now, who in the world has always racked their brain? We've all had Rubik's Cubes, and we've all sat there and peeled the stickers off and put them all in the right places so that it looked like we mastered the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And he just put up a video of that. And the brilliance of that was that he was very honest and very candid about how he gained all this notoriety in a hurry.
Actually, you know what? If you, I know I said before about if we could not talk too much about what happens during his section.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Gotcha. But his story was inspiring in the fact that he was candid about his experience with that and being a YouTuber, and how he kind of came to terms with some things, and how it's as a whole, YouTube has changed his life. So yeah, just really good overall, the documentary.
Thanks. So, and for the people out there listening, I just didn't want to reveal a certain part that happens in Dan Brown's section.
I'm glad you stopped me. I'm glad you stopped me there. I apologize, but
oh, no worries.
That was, they were all great, and I would implore anyone to go to YouTube and just check out what's there, because for me, until I saw your documentary, it was kind of like I've just kind of been on the surface of YouTube all this time. Might go and look up a particular song, or watch a video that someone said, hey, go check this out, but I never really knew the layers and the depth of YouTube until your documentary. And and it really is about people just putting themselves out there and promoting what they're passionate about is what it is. And that's what these individuals in your documentary have done, Some of it was kind of born out of, maybe a joke, as in Hannah's case, but then in other ways, it became something that until it happened for them, they didn't realize how big it would get. And I think that's anybody's case, if they go out to YouTube to try to promote themselves. So yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like an underground city what YouTube is. It's like this rabbit hole that you like, unless you're really shown what it is and what people do on a regular basis. It's like you didn't think it existed. You didn't think that these were jobs and stuff. And it's really funny that and I'm not a political person at all, but a lot of people are like, oh, jobs this and jobs this. Yeah, do you know that there's a job waiting for you on the internet? You can put the camera up on you, and you can make, if you're if you get enough views, you can make that a living. You can make that a job. So, I always like to joke around about that.
Like the underground music scenes and stuff like that, and the parties.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I know that when I was watching it, and one thing that caught my attention was there's 800 billion people a month that watch YouTube. That's insane. Is there any other, media that has that type of watching audience?
I don't know. I don't have like the statistics sitting in front of me or anything, but